Now with any aquarium, one of the very most important things is that there's surface agitation. So here you can see a tiny little bit of surface agitation. It is absolutely not enough. Now that outlet at the moment is currently shooting that way. That outlet at all times must be shooting up because it must break the surface. And that one there is currently shooting that way, but it absolutely has to be facing up because it has to break the surface. Because if the surface of this tank is not broken enough, then the animals will not get enough oxygen and it does actually risk the animals dying. The other thing you could do as a safeguard is you could potentially add a big air stone just as a backup, just in case those things are knocked down, because the surface of this tank cannot remain flat. So you can see now we've actually gone and pointed those up a little bit now, and now you can see the whole top of this tank actually has very good surface agitation. It needs to be like this at all times or the animals are at risk of dropped oxygen level and low redox potential. So currently the pH is around sort of 7.8, maybe even 7.6, which is a little bit on the low side. So we can put the animals in now, but that pH needs to be raised. I really want it more like there, if not there. In the short term, not a big problem, but in the long term, it definitely needs to be watched. The other thing is the ammonia is 0, which means we are safe to raise the pH, but we never want to raise the pH if there is ammonia or the ammonia becomes more toxic. There's almost no nitrite and there's no nitrate. So and the salinity is 0.0, or the specific gravity is 0.024, which means that everything's okay. But the thing that needs to be monitored is the pH. It needs attention, regular testing and buffing as needed. So the KH is currently 4 in this water. So we do want to start raising it using a buffer, and we need to keep an eye on it because we really want the KH to be 8. Once again, you do not raise KH if you do have ammonia, which we currently don't. So when these animals go in, we definitely don't want them fed for at least a week. So there's now officially a shark in the tank. So the animals are now in the tank. There's the sharks, there's the groper, and the 2 eels are now in there. Now we've just got to keep an eye on everything. Now several times when I've came here, the skimmer's not on. So either someone's unplugged it to use it, maybe a tradesman or something. But the skimmer must be on all the time because the skimmer is what can remove the urea, which is the shark waste. Otherwise, we need to wait for the urea to break down into ammonia until we actually know what's wrong with the water, and it's risky to the sharks. So the skimmer needs to be on all the time and cleaned at least twice a week. The sharks were in the pool and the skimmer was off, and now the sharks are back in the shark tank. And where we're at right now is the pH is a little bit low, sort of around there. There is a little bit of ammonia, not much, and there is some nitrite. And the KH is about 7, and the salt level is 0.026. So the water wasn't perfect, but it wasn't that bad. So that's where we're at now. We've got to keep monitoring. Let them settle in and let their immune system come back after this. For a period of time, the feedings had to be down, and they're in a new environment, so that's stressful for them. So now we just need to keep an eye on them, stabilize the water, get the feeding back up, and then get the immune system come back to get us back in the safe. And when the water quality is bad, the first thing with the shark is often their eyes stuff up, but once you improve the water quality, normally that'll come back, depending on how bad it was. So the tank is at 26 degrees, and we did use a big sling for moving the sharks, because when you move sharks, you've got to make sure you never let their back bend. So the sharks are successfully back in their tank. Now it needs regular monitoring to make sure they're safe.